All right, before we get the show started, I have to give a huge shout out to a special group of individuals that I like to call my Patreon podcast producers. And you know what? They're all on Instagram, so make sure you give them a follow. Daryl at Your Level Fitness, Kaitlyn at Kaitlyn Elise, put 3 Y's in her name, Crystal at Reduced Fat Mama, Joey at Joey Losing Weight, Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey, and Amanda at Mutts_and_miles. These guys are helping this show to move forward in a huge, huge way. And if you want to join this special group of individuals, make sure you stay tuned at the very end of the show for more details. Are you Team Apple? I got to shout out all of you checking out this show right now on an iPhone, iPad, etc. In fact, nearly 70% of you are listening to me on one of these devices. It would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review. This is one of the best things that you can do for this podcast to help get the word out. And while you're at it, leave reviews for some of your other favorite shows. I bet they would really dig it. How's your Tuesday going?
Actually, you caught me on a real Tuesday. This is a tough Tuesday for me.
A tough Tuesday. Tell me about it. How's it? Tell me, how's it tough?
I got kids. I got 5. My daughter's giving me a run for my money.
5 kids.
I have 5 kids. Carried and birthed them all.
Wow, that is strong.
Well, it don't ever get easier.
I believe it. My wife and we're trying to have 1. I can't imagine 5.
Yeah, I've always wanted 5. And once I got to 5, I was extremely nervous about having the tubal done. And I was never more okay with a decision than having that. I'm like, oh, I'm done.
So 5 was your number. How did you land on the number 5?
Growing up, I only had my older sister and my younger brother, so I'm the middle. And me and my sister never got along. We still don't. And me and my brother, he's just a little bit young, and I'm a female, he's a male. And so I just wanted them to always have someone because I didn't have someone. So 5 was always my number.
No, that's a great reason. Where'd you grow up at?
Always Grand Rapids, Michigan. I actually just moved just to the outskirts though, but born and raised in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Wow. I don't think I've ever been to the state of Michigan. How do you like Grand Rapids?
I moved for a reason.
Oh yeah.
And even actually since I was 18, which I'm going to be 32, I always said, I just want my address to not say Grand Rapids on it. It's not a healthy city, which no state has. Like every state has a city that's not the healthiest. Right. And yeah, we have Detroit, which is way worse than Grand Rapids, but I didn't want to raise my kids in Grand Rapids.
And when you say not the healthiest, like, can you elaborate? Like, what do you mean exactly? You talking like food? You talking like crime? Like, can we get more specific?
Crime-wise, just this year alone, which was like the early summer, June, July, I just moved in February, and I still own my other home, and I rent it out to a family member. And just this summer, there was, I want to say it was 7 murders within 5 days, just on the blocks that my other house resides at. And one was a little girl on a bike, and it was literally at that corner. One was the house directly next to the home that I own. And that's one of the main reasons why I couldn't live there anymore.
Wow. And so you grew up in this place. I mean, you've had to deal with this pretty much your entire life, huh?
Yep, my whole life. My parents did move just a little bit more outskirts of Grand Rapids, which is Walker. It's like all of a 10, 15-minute drive.
Right.
But being at that point a single mom to 3 kids because I did get divorced. That was the house that I could own and afford and have more than enough room for all of us.
Sure.
So I did what I had to do. But once I was able to do more, I took it and I ran. And so that's when I moved out to the country this time.
Out to the country. Yeah, I love, we have like here in Virginia, we have down in the country would be like Spotsylvania or Thornburg or Partlow. Like to me, that's down in the country. And I've always talked about, man, I'd love to live down there in like a house where there's like nothing around. There's nothing but woods. You have like, you know, I don't know, 5-10 acres of land. My wife's like, absolutely no freaking way.
See, I always wanted that, and I don't have it all the way yet. We do have some neighbors.
Yeah.
But I am Hispanic. I ended up dealing with something I never thought that I would deal with. Coming from a big city, there's so many different cultures. There's so many different, I don't like the word racism,
right.
But there's so many different colors.
Yeah.
Moving to the country, being Hispanic, there's not so many colors anymore. And so I then had to deal with the other side of, I get the looks. I've had people say things to me. I've had people on my street say things to me. And it actually made the transition extremely hard because like I worked super hard to own the home that I have and to make the move. And I pay my taxes like everyone else. Like to be that way to a neighbor, it was a big shock to me that I never prepared myself for because I didn't look at it that way. But that's just the world that we live in.
And it's really crazy too. Like, I mean, maybe I just don't get it, but like to me, like, you know, we're in 2019, almost 2020. Like if people can't get over that shit, like, I mean, excuse my language, but like if people can't get over that shit by now, like, you know, being just rude and dicks to people, like, I don't know why why we still have people in this world that think that that's an okay thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And my husband, as I'm remarried, he's white. They have said things to him in like the Walmart and not realizing that we are together.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm standing right here. And I am like, I don't know that man of color that you're talking about, but that person is me, because if you feel that way about him, you feel that way about me. And I'm like standing right here and you knew I could hear you. And so it's definitely different. You would not think that when you walk into a store and they're smiling, that same Walmart associate would have that feeling. That it makes you, in a really sad way, it made me be like, you just naturally become dismissive. And I never thought that I would be that way.
Yeah.
But you have no other choice, because you don't want to be what they're going to mentally be accusing you of, or verbally accusing you of being, of hostile or anything like that. So you just, yes, ma'am, or excuse me. And it was really awkward, but I think I've been here enough months that they've gotten a little bit more used to seeing me around.
Right.
And I stick to myself no matter what anyways.
Yeah.
I've always been that way. So
I guess it's got to kind of be difficult. Like when you wake up every day and, you know, you've got to worry about like, are people going to judge me? Are they going to have this preconceived notion of, you know, what they think that I am? And I can imagine that that's got to be, you know, tough. I mean, like you said, maybe people are more used to it now, but like, I could just imagine like, you know, early on, probably the challenges that presented and possibly even still now, right?
Oh yeah, it ruined me as a person, in all honesty. There's been quite a few things in my life that have ruined me, but that was something I had never really dealt with.
Yeah.
And to be as old as I am, which I'm not like old, but I had never dealt with that before. And now like I'm in a neighborhood that I really, really like. I'm on a dead end street and we have privacy. Well, now I have to drive down my dead end street. I'm the last house. And it's like, I feel like everyone's always watching me. I have to go slow enough because they complained I was going too fast, and
right.
They complain of all kinds of things, and oh, my kids and this and that. And it's like, well, I'll just drive you to school instead of you walking to the bus. And no, I'm not going to change. You walk to the bus. I don't have to drive you. That way someone doesn't complain because you walk down our street.
Yeah. Yeah. And have your kids had to deal with any of this?
Not to my knowledge, because we are more in the country. There's obviously more fields. So at school, they do have not as much as the city, but there is diversity in the schools because we have the farmers or pickers, however you want to word it.
Right.
So their kids do go to the school. So there's maybe like 10 to 15.
Yeah.
And then the schools out here do get exchange students. So there's always kids of different nationalities that come in, don't really quite know our language. And so there is that diversity that they have too.
Yeah. I just hope that in some point we can get to a point where this is just not a problem anymore. And I know that that's wishful thinking. It's probably never going to happen, but like I always try to find some sort of positive as much as I can. And I got to hope that at some point we as people are going to just get over this shit and just realize that we're all on equal footing. We're all, we're all equal and we don't need to look down on other people on the color of their skin or their sexual preference or whatever. And I don't want to make this some kind of like crazy political rant or soapbox kind of thing, but like, can we just get over our shit and just realize that we're all people and we don't have to like everybody, but we can at least be human to everybody.
Yeah. Let's just all get along.
Exactly.
We're all fishbowl together.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this is crazy. So we just started chatting like a week or two ago about jumping on a podcast, and here we are. I love how this works out. You have any like reservations about just jumping on a podcast with a complete stranger?
Not with a complete stranger, but because I feel like I get along with a lot of people just almost naturally. But at the same time, in like my personal life, I'm not that way. More so reserved as I've never told my story. So that part is a little bit difficult, but also I think self-soothing.
Well, I would say that when it comes to sharing a story, you've come to the right place. If you don't mind sharing with, a couple thousand people, it's up to you.
Nope. I'd have dodged you today if that was the case.
Yeah, no kidding. I was worried. I sent you the message, like, are we still on? Cause I had like 2 or 3 cancellations in the last week or two. And I started worrying like, God, people must think I'm like shit now or something. Like that's like 3 in a row. And they all had like valid reasons. Like I'm just being slightly self-deprecating, but I was like, man, they must just hate my guts or something. They just want out. They don't want to talk to me, but you said, yes, you are here. And so we're talking.
Yes.
So where does your story begin? How do you want to tell this story? Let's talk about it.
Obviously I'm a weight loss account.
Yes.
But I feel like and maybe other people do, but I'm not, I wasn't always heavy.
Yeah.
And so my story doesn't start off with I never really could control my eating, or I was always, plus size. And then I had this all moment. Like, I feel like I was a really bad drunk, and I was a really big medication abuser. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and I misused my anxiety medication. I took myself off depression medication without doctor advice, and I went through the worst withdrawals. But I didn't really eat a lot. I just drank all the time, and I didn't do a damn thing with my life because I hated it.
Right.
And I caused myself to get 280 pounds.
Well, now, I mean, I think we should rewind just slightly. So, I mean, when you're talking about, having an alcohol issue and having a medical issue, like what is the catalyst for that? Like what puts all that into motion? Like, how do you get to that point? What makes you kind of, not like your current situation? Like what gets you there to that point?
Growing up, and I can only speak for my household, doesn't go across the board, but growing up in a Hispanic household, let alone a Hispanic Catholic household,
yes,
it was really rough for me. I was the first one to raise my daughter that you grow up, you get a high school education, college education, do your career and go on with your life. You don't need a man. I was not raised that way. I was raised that you find a man, you settle down, you have kids, you take care of the kids, and that's it.
Yes.
Like, I got so much shit for going to college from my dad. But my dad never really was he never acknowledged anything to us as kids. And so that was my first being neglected by a man, was from my dad.
Yeah.
And although I was a daddy's girl, which makes it seem like the polar opposite, that affected me because I always wanted my dad's approval and I never had it. I was always looking to be praised for something I didn't get. And then having 5 kids, I had my first daughter. Well, she's my only daughter, but I had my first kid when I was 15. And being left pregnant and going through a pregnancy and raising her by myself, there's just another abandonment that I wasn't good enough.
Right.
I also had, and that's where it's a tough one, but it is what it is. I was sexually molested by my sister's then husband. She just got divorced this year. So I was growing up my whole life with someone who took advantage of me in that way. And when speaking up to my mom and my sister and just being blatantly called a liar, there again is just another scenario that I just wasn't enough. And just my first divorce, I wasn't enough. It ended to cheating, and like I never did anything. And I drank myself because I felt like I was just never enough. I couldn't be enough for my kids because I can't be enough to give them a whole family.
Right.
And that is a really big pill to swallow, let alone all those different situations, especially the one with my sister, hence why we don't get along. She stayed with him all those years. It's just a lot of rejection that when you're rejected so many times, you have to start to believe it, because you almost get into a position where you don't have a choice because nothing is showing you any different. And I ended up where I ended up.
It's very true. I mean, you just have situation after situation after situation. And at some point it's like a boiling pot. It's going to burst at some point. I mean, I can certainly identify with the thing with the father. I mean, I never had a really strong relationship with my father. And, he kind of just hit the road and did his own thing. But I mean, I can imagine kind of hearing you as you're sharing your story that certainly, finding comfort in the alcohol, that's one thing that won't let you down, right? Like when you're thinking in your head, like, well, I can find comfort in this because I know it's going to be there for me. I mean, I had a lot of drinking myself, and I know that that's one thing that never let me down when I was a drinker. That, it's one thing that you could find comfort in.
Yeah, you don't have to think.
Yeah. You just kind of decide, okay, like how many do I want? Right. Like, do I want if it's beer, do I want to go for a 6 or do I want to go for a 12, or man, do I really want to get fucked up? I'll just take a couple of shots, 'cause I know
exactly
that'll get me done quicker. Right.
You get so far into drinking that it's, well, what kind of drunk do I want to be today? Do I want to be vodka drunk, which is I'm fucked up drunk?
Right.
Or do I want to be wine drunk that I'm coherent and me and you can argue today? Or do I want to be beer drunk, which beer drunk is kind of my fun drunk. Well, was.
Sure.
But you start to learn what kind of drunk you're going to be.
Oh yeah.
That you're digging yourself a hole that most of us don't get out of.
Oh yeah.
Because you learn. And then mixing that with my anxiety medication would sometimes lead to nights that I still to this day don't remember. I've been told, but it didn't get me in a good place whatsoever.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially excuse me, especially mixing the two, because the alcohol on its own can really fuck you up pretty bad. But I mean, you start mixing it with medication, and I haven't personally experimented, but I can tell you that I can only imagine. And I mean, I know people that have done it, that it's, it'll get you messed up far beyond anything you could imagine.
Yep, I started doing it. I didn't do that the whole time, mixing my medication with alcohol, but towards the end of my first marriage, it got to be where, because I would never drink. Like I mean, anybody, I guess I would consider myself an alcoholic, yes, but I would also call it a controlled alcoholic.
Right.
I never drank during the day when my kids were awake, but once they went to bed,
it was on.
That's when I would just drink to hell. And the further into my marriage or the closer to the end that it got, I was just so miserable because, like I said, growing up in a Catholic household, I'm also the first one to ever file for divorce. Like I've had family that they have been filed against, but they've never left. Like, you don't leave. You're married. You're married. That's it. But I couldn't do it. But feeling like I had to, or else I was going to be, once again, my dad's going to be disappointed in me.
Yeah.
So, but I hated my days that I couldn't wait to drink, that it became not enough, that I then just mixed the two. So it was for sure enough now.
Yeah.
And I'm just really grateful I never got too far with it, but that was the only reason I started mixing.
I mean, on like a really bad night, I mean, how bad are we talking? Like how many beers, or how many, are we like killing a whole liquor bottle? Like, what are we talking here?
I could drink. It was bad enough. I used to have a tab. Like, there was a party store right down the street. It was like a 2-minute walk.
Right.
And I used to have a tab with her. Like, I don't have any money right now, but I get paid on Friday, and she would let me take whatever I wanted. I have like payment plans with this woman. Like, it was bad for me.
Yeah.
I honestly, for even being a drinker, I do not know my sizes, but I could drink 4 or 5 bottles of wine and then still have some beer to top it off, because to me, topping something off with beer, that's when it like slams your face into the dirt.
Yeah.
Drunk.
Yeah.
Beer after anything is never a good thing. Don't try it. But I learned to not like liquor though. So to me, it was always really wine.
Yeah.
And I could drink about 4 or 5 bottles of those. Or if somebody had boxed wine, which I'm not a hater, I would have drank boxed wine. I could drink like 1 to 2 boxes of wine, and that's all by myself, because my ex-husband worked third. That was my free time. That was my time to just feel alone.
Right.
Instead of being alone, I could like feel it within myself.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, because I know for me, I never was big onto the wine, but like I always had a love-hate relationship with actual like hard liquor, because I never really liked the taste. I mean, who the fuck says I love the taste of liquor? Maybe some people, but for me, it was always like so strong. So I would always like down it as quick as possible. And sometimes in a method of trying to show off, I would see how much I could get down. I mean, I remember being like blackout drunk for one of the WrestleManias. Like my buddy and I, like we killed an entire handle of Fireball, for instance. And so I never got into the wine, but the alcohol, that was pretty heavy.
Well, the only thing I ever had that was liquor-wise was I used to love UV cake, and I could have that straight, and I could just drink that from the bottle. I didn't buy it often, though. My thing was wine. UV blue and lemonade, they call them bombsicles. Anything that, like, you don't taste it, so then when you get drunk, it's like a smack in the face.
Yeah.
Because one of my weaknesses is I love whiskey. And I can drink honey whiskey like it's nobody's business. That's one thing that's like a sweet treat that, I'm going to go have a donut today to treat myself. Like, to me, it was, I'm going to splurge and buy me a bottle of Tennessee honey whiskey.
I never had that stuff.
Oh, Tennessee honey whiskey is delicious.
I will tell you though, I'm a big country music fan. Florida Georgia Line came out with their own whiskey. It was a peach pecan whiskey. And I know it sounds weird, but it actually was really good. And I used to throw that shit into McDonald's sweet tea and just tear it up. Let me tell you.
Oh no, now you can make me look for it. I don't have a drinking problem anymore, so I'm fine. Like I know once you don't, you shouldn't, but like I can have 1 or 4 times a year that I might have something to drink, but sure. I couldn't even tell you the last time I've been drunk.
Yeah, I started a challenge this year only. I was like, can I go 365 days without a drink? And so far I've done it.
Oh yeah.
I don't miss it. Like I don't really seek it out like anymore. Like, and I feel like when the year is over, like I'm not saying I would never have a drink again, but I feel like I wouldn't even like want to seek it out. Like it would just be something like if it's there, like, I might have like one or a sip, but like, I don't feel the need to like seek it out anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I had that, which is not alcohol, but pop or
Yeah.
soda. Mine, oh, I could probably count on one hand how many times I used to have water a year.
Yeah.
And I have not had soda in almost 2 years come December.
Wow. That's insane. I've
I
been
was so nervous.
about quitting soda.
Yeah, because like that was the one thing that I had that I hadn't given up. And when I gave it up, I'm like, I don't want to tell myself that, it's going to be forever. I'm just going to do 7 days. And then when I got to 7 days, it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to try for 10 days. And I just never had pop again.
Yeah, that's another thing. I quit that in December of 2016, and I never looked back. Like that was the one thing. Like I was like, when I start this journey, like one of the hardest things going to be do is to give up some of this food and quit it for good. But the soda thing, like that wasn't even like a challenge at all. Like it was just like, oh, whatever, and I'll drink the hell out of some water.
It's like, ugh, water has no taste. Like I hate this.
And how do you
Now
feel
it's
about
like
it
when I'm
now?
thirsty, it's like, man, I want a cold glass of water. It's like you crave water.
Right? I know you're feeling that. I mean, it's now I'll go through like a gallon a day. I just can't get enough of it.
I try to get as much as I can. I try to get 120 or over, and however far over I go. But 120 is just my number for whatever reason. I feel like most days I do pretty good. If it's on the weekends, it starts to get a little bit iffy because my husband's home, and I have been a stay-at-home mom for the past 4 years.
Right.
So I feel like I have my own routine and my own day during the day. And then when he's home, because nobody else in the house, which they're all teenagers, but my husband doesn't get into the whole fitness thing.
Yeah.
That it's like, well, like now I can't work out. I can't do this. So everything is during the day. So on weekends when he's home, it's like no intermittent fasting, no calorie counting. Like I don't pay attention to my water, which isn't the best, but it's super hard when you have a partner that doesn't, participate, which is fine, but it's hard to mix the life.
Yeah, sometimes it's just nice to like have your own thing, right? Where you're just kind of like you keep to yourself.
Exactly. I prefer it that way. Not like if he wanted to, obviously, then we would, because we used to go to the gym together. I kind of, for medical reasons, like really had to push harder. And so I just started working out in the mornings. And then, like you said, it becomes my time, like where nothing else matters about anybody else. Is like, this is just me and my time and what I know I can do. And like, that's it. There's no one else to say anything, because I also hate the gym. Like I work out at home.
Yeah.
So that definitely during the day has become time.
Oh, I hear you on that. So you were telling me earlier about, getting up to like 280 pounds and, kind of everything that's going on. Like, how do we get to that point? I mean, we're talking about, dealing with the alcohol and the medication and all that. And how do we get up to the point where we're starting to see that rise in the weight?
I knew I started to gain weight after my second was born, which I was 18. And I could see that I was gaining weight. That's also when I was diagnosed with depression. And so I was on that medication. I never owned a scale until last year. So I only know that I got to 280 because I went in for one of my last appointments. It's been so long I can barely remember. Because I had stopped taking the depression medication.
Yeah.
For me, it got to the depression medication worked, but it worked to where I was getting depressed about having to take a pill for being depressed. And so I took myself off of it. That caused me to then have like an anxiety issue.
Yeah.
And so when they weighed me, I weighed 280. It was 280 even, like no ounces, no nothing.
Okay.
And after that, I ended up getting divorced really shortly after. Well, we separated. And then by that time still, I was already in medical school. And we were in the part where we have to weigh each other and like pretend do, mock-ups for office visits and whatnot. And during that weigh-in, I had got down to 263. And that was in a matter of like 3 weeks. Like I dropped weight super fast because I was just so stressed, wasn't eating. It was a big life change. For as unhappy as I was, it was a big life change for me.
Yeah.
To go from having that one person every day for 10 years to like, that's it, they're gone. It caused me to drop a lot of weight. And I held that weight. That 253, I think the lowest I had gotten was 227. And that was all me knowing based off of being in class, being weighed all the time. And I know I held that until I went for my current husband adopted my oldest daughter. And oddly, even though I'm the biological mom, they make us do a physical. And they weighed me and I was 247.8. And that's when I started. I started at 247.8.
That's awesome though. I mean, dropping 40 some odd pounds like that. I mean, that's no easy feat. And where are you at right now?
Oh Lord, I am stuck. Right now I'm back up to 211. Okay. I got down to 194 and I have no clue what happened, but I've been stuck all year long and I literally work out Monday through Friday. Like everybody who follows me or who is, Apple Watch friends with me, they know that I work out hard every morning and I am stuck like a rock in the mud.
Oh, you mess with the Apple Watch. We're gonna have to link up after this. Then you're on.
Oh yes, me and your girl Chelsea.
Okay, yeah.
Chelsea.
Yeah,
we go at it quite often. But I do my best, and this year's just not my year for the weight dropping, which is fine. It's become a habit, and I genuinely enjoy it. So it gets frustrating,
sure,
but it's not enough to make me want to quit.
No, I think you just kind of fall in love with the process. I mean, yeah, you don't always get that numerical seal of approval, but I can almost guarantee that, your body has probably made so many internal changes that you may or may not even be aware of. And there's some shit going on under the hood there that's like, going in the right direction, even if a number isn't, reflecting that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I've been the same weight now for like a year, but I can tell you that the me of a year ago, and everybody is different, but I mean, the me of a year ago and the me now at the exact same weight are two different people.
I hate to put it in that way. Like that does make me feel good. And that reminded me of something that made me feel good, but it also made me feel like such a shitty person at the same time was, I don't follow them, so I don't know their name. I know I follow Jessica.
Okay.
And I don't know her last name. She's one of the more sought after people in Lexi.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
I seen that they had skin removal.
Yes.
And while they could have like shied away from pictures, I also seen that they had gained weight. And that they're still on there and they're still posting and they're still working out, because this year I did have a little bit of a moment. And I wanted to mentally I was giving up. I was still working out, but mentally I wasn't there, which they both need to be there. And
yes.
I had, for some reason, had looked up Lexi and I had looked up Jessica, and I had seen that even after surgery, they're still people. And I think we forget that we're people. And I'm not going to lose weight every single month of the year.
Yes.
But even after all that money, all that effort, they still find value in it to put in effort. And it's like, there's no reason whatsoever for me to not work out because the scale is not moving.
Oh yeah. I mean, it becomes this thing where it's like, you realize, and you probably already have this realization by now, but it's like, this is your life. This is not some 30-day bullshit challenge. It's not some school assignment homework that you've got to turn in 3 weeks. Like, this is your life. And I know people are just probably like, oh, well, duh, no shit. But like, it's a
hard thing to really understand that, though.
Yeah.
Like, people say it, and you can read as many memes as you want.
Yes.
You can look for this motivation, but I'm sorry, you're never going to find it.
No,
it doesn't exist.
You have to realize it for yourself.
Yes, it literally is every day. Like, this is my life. It should be no different than you waking up and brushing your teeth. Wake up and take care of yourself. You don't have to pick the best toothpaste or use mouthwash, or you probably don't floss every day. Those are little decisions that you choose to make. Just like every day, you're not going to eat right. You're not going to get all that water in. You might not work out today, but it should be no different than that. You wake up and you take care of yourself.
100%. I wrote in a post today, I'm gonna pull this up real quick. When people hear this, it's going to be several weeks later, but it's basically like, when there are things that, we really, really want, we will bend over backwards to get to them. And I'm talking like the simple things, like there's a new iPhone coming out on Friday. Like, do I want that phone? Hell yeah, I want that phone. Am I going to get up?
I seen you post it and I Googled it. I was so jealous. I thought you had ordered it.
It's coming Friday and I won't be here to get it. But if it's a new phone, like, oh man, I'm going to get up so early, right? I'm going to get up early. I'm going to be the first in line. I'm going to try. Like, I'm going to go through all this effort to be the first in line. Or there's this vacation that I really want to go on. So you know what? I'm going to work like the next 8 weekends in a row and accumulate all this extra money so that I can go on this vacation. Well, you know what? I really, really want to get healthy. Well, I guess I'll maybe next week. You know what? I'll start the first of next month. Or, 2020's right around the corner. You know what? # new year, new me. I'm back on the block.
Yes.
I'm doing my thing. Like, that's how that goes. Like, if you wanted something, like, just give me an example of like one like material thing that you really want right now.
Oh, that I really want right now?
Yes.
Only because we just talked about it, and I seriously just looked it up yesterday, like that iPhone. I would kill for that iPhone. I'm not someone that goes out and buys a new one every time. I think that's dumb.
Yeah,
but
I lease them. They're built into my plan, so I'm actually paying more if I don't give it back and get another one. But the point is, like, you really want this phone, and so if you really, really, really wanted it, you would do probably everything you could to get your hands on it. But then the average person talks about their health, and they sit here and they think, well, I really need to do something about this. And they just put it off and they 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 put it off. And then the next thing you know, a whole year has passed by and you're like, man, I remember last September, I was sitting there talking to myself about how I needed to get my health together. And you're saying this to yourself when you're sitting in a doctor's office 11 months later and they're telling you you have like a severe medical problem. And you just think to yourself, like, why did I put this off for so long?
That is exactly almost how it went for me. That physical that I had to take for my husband to adopt our daughter,
right,
came for the first time ever. And I've had 5 kids, and my youngest is 3. So, and we did the adoption 2 years ago. So he was only 1.
Right.
And I've had all these labs done. Nothing has ever come up. I went to that physical to do that, and I had triglycerides that were in the 1700s.
Wow.
And I think they're supposed to be like below 400. My body was giving off insulin, but yet my A1C was not showing that I was pre-diabetic. Like, I was in 100% normal range, not even close to being in the whatever. And I was diagnosed with a pseudotumor, which is like a mimic of a tumor.
Yeah.
It acts like one, but it's not cancerous. And I was diagnosed with that in my right eye. I was literally going blind.
Wow.
All of that still didn't make me change the way I did anything. I sat there on medication, and I have friends, like, I genuinely call them my friends that have had surgery. So I have, no, you've done it natural, you've done it this, you've done it that. No, we've all just done it.
Yeah.
But I went to have that surgery done. That's how bad I didn't for me, I did not want to get off my ass and work out.
Yeah.
I didn't end up having the surgery. And I'm so grateful because that process let me look at, like I said, for my past, I was never good enough for anybody. That process of me choosing to do it on my own made me good enough. And it wasn't good enough for anybody. I was good enough for myself. Like, I can lift heavy. And like, I pick at my husband, like, I bet I can lift heavier than you. Like, don't talk back.
Probably pick his ass up and slam him on the ground.
Yep. So, but yeah, like, I went through all the medical stuff, and now thankfully I don't have anything. The only thing I have is my thyroid. I have to take thyroid medication, which I'm pretty sure is half the reason why I've been stuck this year too, even though I worked so hard. But
yeah, that'll definitely do it.
Go through all of that and nothing, but then have so much come out of it. Like, all my levels are clear, and I got rid of a tumor that doctors wanted me to have had the surgery on with just simple diet and exercise. Like, I grind for that.
Yeah.
And to have all of that clear, like, sometimes we take things as, well, I'm just going to take this pill and be done with it. And it's like, no, get up and work out. Like, you don't have to take that pill forever.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I'll tell you what, if you're here right now, I'd fist bump the hell out of you, but I got to tell you what, I think what you've done is just, it's incredible. I mean, all that you've done and dropping all the levels. I mean, this is no easy feat. And I think a lot of people, they look at it just for strictly the vanity of it, the number, because people are going to ask them, oh, how much weight did you lose? But you've really gained so much more out of this.
Yes. And that's why I really don't like some of the early memes either, if that makes sense. Like, I really despise the one that says, like, you'll feel it in whatever weeks, and then you'll see it in this many weeks, you'll hear it in this many weeks. It's like, that is a lie. Yeah. I did not see it until I was like 30 pounds down. Okay. It does not happen in weeks because I've seen that meme and I'm thinking like, well, I don't see anything. No one is saying anything. It's like, that's not how life works. And we share so many of them because, like, yeah, they relate, but it's like the people who are just starting, I did, they take it to heart. And it's a little bit discouraging in the beginning, but don't follow a meme. Just work out every day. Not even every day. I didn't work out every day at first. Memes
make you feel good. They, I mean, I can't say how many times I see stuff that's just shared that at first glance could be funny or, makes you in the feels, as they say. But then when you really look at it, you're like, all right, that's kind of, that's a reach or whatever, but people, they're going to post it because they want to feel good. And the people that are generally posting, a lot of them are there to get the clicks, and there's that whole thing too. So, but I mean, that's just incredible when you can go in there and just lower all your levels like that and get, I bet you wake up now every day. I mean, granted, like you said, you have 5 kids and that can be a struggle, but like you probably wake up every day and you're feeling pretty damn good. Am I right?
I've cried so much in the past year because of all the little things that make me feel so good. Like, I can play tag with my kids.
Yeah.
And that was another thing. Like, one, having children, even if it's just one, to let alone having 5, women have a pelvic floor issue where we sometimes urinate on ourselves when we run, cough, laugh, even while after children.
Right.
I always had that issue, and I was going to have the mesh put in, but they said I was too young. Either way, losing the weight, I can run, I can laugh, I can cough, and I don't have that issue anymore. So to be able to run with my kids, my knees don't give out. Yeah. I actually posted today that I had an NSV, that I was able to do weighted squats today. And I've never been able to. My daughter used to do the laundry for me. So little stupid stuff like that, just being able to do my laundry and not have to have my daughter do my laundry, those little things, yes, they make me so happy.
That's incredible.
I don't know why I waited so long.
Yeah, I think we constantly will ask ourselves that as we're going through this. And I think it's important that, it's normal to ask early on, but after a while, you got to kind of stop looking in the rear view, I think. But it's totally normal to ask yourself, like, why did I let it get so bad? But then you're just like, well, you know what? Who gives a shit? Because I'm just making it happen now. And I'm in a good spot and I'm moving forward and all is on the right track.
Yeah, that's true. It is. It's taking the breath and just looking at it as a whole instead of looking at it as in a section.
Yes.
Helps.
So important.
Don't be so overwhelmed with a huge thing, because when you chop it up into little sections is when you really get overwhelmed.
Oh, 100%.
Because then it feels like you have a million things on your plate.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I've been feeling right now, is like I've got a million things on my plate. I actually, today was not the greatest, and I started to get better. I was in kind of like a really bad mental slump for the last week or so, and it's really easy to get a bunch of things on your plate and to try to deal with all of it, and then at some point it's going to break you right down to zero, I think.
Yep. Being a mom, and then my older ones are teenagers, and then like I have my routine that I want to do, and my husband comes home and it's like, well, how was your day? Sometimes I feel like I don't even know how many plates I have in my hand anymore.
Yeah. You're just hoping that one doesn't fall and break.
Yeah, but at least none fell.
Yeah, that can be a lot to balance. And I know people might think, oh, and big whoops, you're married, you got a couple of kids, but I mean that shit is hard work, man.
Yeah, marriage ain't for chumps.
No, I've been married twice myself.
No.
Yeah.
I tell my kids all the time, this is not no Disney movie.
No, it's not. I mean, because in the movies they make it look so easy and it's so much fun.
Yeah, that's what I say it to everybody. Marriage ain't for chumps. Like, this shit's hard. This is an everyday commitment. Like, till you die, forever. Like, forever is a long time, but it's a commitment that you make, and it's not an easy one, but it's one that you have to choose to make every single day.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, I've been divorced, but that was also not on my doing. Like, that was one of the main hard parts when getting into being married. Like, it was really scary to get remarried, because like I know what it takes to be married, and he didn't. Like, but you don't know if you're gonna know what it takes to be married, because it's not what we see on TV.
No. So this was your current husband's first marriage?
Correct.
Yeah, same with my wife. It was her first marriage, and you go through it once. Like, in our minds, because we've been there, there's like a sense of, am I ready for this? And then you get to that point where you realize, yes, I'm ready and let's do this. But like, there is that point for sure where you're just like, am I ready to go down this road again? Am I ready to, as I would say, walk that aisle? Yeah. I told him for the longest, I'm like, I'll never get remarried. There's no way that anybody can look me in the face and say, I'll love you forever, and they mean it. Like, I'll never do it. And then here I am. We've been married for 4 years and together for 7. That's incredible. I'm coming up on my 4 years is 2015, right? My math sucks. Okay. Yeah. No, I got married in 2015.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did too. June.
Okay, I was September. So actually, it's coming up next week. It'll be next. I want to say it's whatever the 26th is. That's when our anniversary. At least I know the date. I just don't know the day that the date falls on. So there you go.
You're doing better than me. I forget my anniversary every single year.
Really?
And like every year. And like I told my daughter, like, don't you dare tell your dad. Like, I don't know what day it is. What day is it?
How do you forget
I always get
that?
The year
Come
and
on
the physical
now.
day mixed up.
Oh, okay.
I always know it's in June, but the actual day I forget.
Do you know if it's like the beginning, the middle, or the end of June? Do you at least know that, or?
I know it's in the beginning because we got married in the 15th, but the day was the 13th, so they're so close that I forget.
I see.
Because like 13 and 15 is like, well, I don't remember which one it was.
Well, June is interesting because my wife and I, our first date ever was 10 years ago in June. It was June the 10th. I remember that.
See, I remember our first dating, but we also have history. Like, we dated in middle school.
Oh, wow. So you're coming back and revisiting then.
Yeah. He really loved me. He wanted to put up with me, but no, like, we dated in middle school. We took, my whole marriage, and we were obviously young then. And then in 2012, we reconnected on the good old Facebook, and there we are.
Yeah. Facebook brings some people together. I remember my wife and I, we reconnected on Facebook. She like dropped a comment on my wall. It was like, yo, what's up? Or something like that. And I'm like, hey, what's up? Like,
It's the women then, because I messaged him first as well.
did you have intentions, or were you just trying to say what's up? Be honest.
I'm
Don't
not
lie.
gonna lie. I had a little bit of intentions.
Yeah.
I had been separated for some time then.
Sure.
The intentions were nice though, because like the first time that we met, I was that cliche movie, like I forgot to take off my seatbelt, so I clotheslined myself, and it was so embarrassing. But it's something we joke about now.
Oh, that's insane. Oh, what did you guys do on the first date?
The first date was actually for my birthday, so it was in November, and we just went out to a movie, and we went out for some drinks at, I think it was TGI Fridays. I don't even remember.
What was the movie? Do you remember that?
It was a Denzel Washington movie. That's all I remember.
Maybe Equalizer, maybe? Was he like killing a bunch of people?
It was back in 2012. I know it had to do with a plane. He was a drunk, but I don't know what the movie was.
Oh, was he like a pilot or something?
Yeah, he landed it safely, but they found alcohol in his system or something.
Oh, yeah. People are screaming at their radios in their car, or they're screaming on their phones like, oh, it was this movie.
Well, at least I paid attention in the movie. See, so I knew what it was about.
Yeah, ours was the Hangover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now you got me curious. Before we come to a close on this thing, I want to look this thing up just so I make sure that I got this right. Okay, so we got Denzel Washington. I guess
2012.
Flight.
Flight. Yes.
I think I've seen that movie before. I'm pretty sure I saw that movie.
If I remember it, that means it was a good movie. So if you haven't, you should watch it.
Yeah, I want to say I saw. Let's see. So Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 77%, IMDb 7.3 out of 10, 4 out of 4 for Roger Ebert. And so I guess that guy knows what he's doing.
I don't know. 77 is a passing like on a school test, but that doesn't sound very good to me.
Hey, I go to the movies all the time, and I don't give a shit what the reviewers say. Like, because there's a lot of times where they are wrong, and I will go and I will see something. I'm like, you know what? This wasn't that bad.
Yeah, see, I don't get out to watch a lot of movies, and I stopped because I really haven't liked movies in forever. I feel like funny movies are not funny anymore. Dramas are wannabe comedies. I can't do scary movies. It gives me anxiety. I like to even watch a commercial or to hear it. Like I have to turn the channel.
So what do you watch?
But, I'm an action movie person.
Yeah.
And I feel like even some of those aren't that well anymore. Like that John Wick 3. That was horrible.
Did you at least like the first John Wick?
I do. I like number 1, and I think number 2 was okay, but I like number 1. The first one's always the best though. And then they just try hard after that.
I will say though, like if you look at like an action series, like you take like Fast and the Furious, for instance, like they kind of had like the first movie was like really strong. The second was okay. The third was kind of Fourth was kind of, I think that was the one where it was like, okay, this is not too bad. And then when the fifth one, when they brought The Rock in, like they really started to find their stride again for like 5, 6, maybe 7.
Like 8 now. I gave up after the Tokyo Drift one.
That was the third one.
I gave up. They make movies too long too. Like I can't do. I don't want to sit there that long.
So wait, you haven't
Marvel movies, Transformers.
I don't watch that.
Fast and Furious. So long. It's that nobody wants to sit there that long.
So wait a minute.
I don't.
Have you not done Fast 4, 5, or any of those? Like you haven't even seen those?
I've seen them. I know we went and watched the one that was kind of like had the memorial for Paul Walker.
Oh,
at the end.
Yeah.
I seen that one. Yeah, and then I have not seen the newest one. And then they had like some spin-off movie that they just released too.
Hobbs and Shaw. That wasn't too bad.
Yeah. I haven't seen any of those.
Okay. Well, I mean, you say that like action is not even good anymore. Like what was the last like really good one you saw? Maybe you can help me out.
Oh man, what was it? We just rented it too not that long ago. Oh, shoot, I forget the name of it. A lot of them are like they're undercover CIA agents and like those kind of movies.
Yes.
Like where you wouldn't expect it. But I forgot the name of the movie. I like a lot of the army movies.
Okay.
But like where somebody's corrupt or corrupt police officers.
Oh yeah.
Ones, I'll sit down and watch them.
Those are always the best.
We just got done watching Designated Survivor on Netflix. Oh, I haven't binge watched something in a long time. Like that was really good. And I don't even know how old it was, but that was good.
There was a movie that I think the critics kind of took a shit on, but I really liked it. It was just in the theaters. I think it's probably gone by now. I think it was called like Don't Let Go. It was about this guy. He's a cop and his niece lives with obviously her parents, and her parents get murdered and she gets murdered, but then she calls them from her cell phone, but she's calling from like 2 weeks ago, and they have to like figure out how they died to prevent it. It's pretty wild.
I'll have to look it up.
And there's some crooked cop stuff in there. And there was actually, I don't remember the name of it, but I saw a preview for another one coming out. It's got like crooked cops in it, and that one's looking to be pretty good as well.
One of my all-time favorite ones, which isn't really a crooked cop one, but is Dead Presidents. That to me is a really good movie.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, you have to watch it.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's an older movie. It's older, so it's not going to be like on Netflix. You probably have to rent it or like get out of the $5 bin if you find it.
I remember Street Kings from like 10 years ago. Keanu Reeves and a couple other people. I don't remember the name. That was a really good one. I really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
Definitely.
It's iffy, but there's some good ones that I'll watch.
Definitely. Well, I got to tell you, we've sat here for like an hour, and I would say for a podcast, like this is probably the most like all over the place podcast you could possibly be. And I mean that like in the best way. Like this was a lot of like, this was a lot of fun, a lot of emotion, a lot of like heavy, like it's got everything. Like if people are like, if Blockbuster still existed and we're walking around, like you and I, we're hanging out, we're buds, and we're walking around and we're trying to find a movie to hang out and watch. Like if you put this podcast in the description of a movie box, like we're probably going to grab that one. Am I right?
Oh, I mean, I have to, I've lived it.
Okay, well, let's pretend like we're not talking about your story. Like we're just like let's talk in the third person, right? And I mean, you see this on a box, like this is the one to grab, right?
We'll grab it as long as we have like tissues and some ice cream. Like we can splurge on our ice cream that day because I'm an emotional person, obviously. So like, it's gonna be a bad movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. I will say, pass me the Ben and Jerry's strawberry cheesecake one, because that's my fucking jam right there.
Yeah, no, I won't be passing it because that's mine.
Well, then we'll just get two, and there you go.
That's fair.
All right, you're on. Tell the people where they can get you on the gram.
You can find me at wildflower _strong.
Wildflower okay, let me look this up here. Let me make sure I got this here. Wildflower _strong. Okay, boom. All right, I got you. All right, so go check her out on the Instagram. Go say what's up. Send her a DM. Say you heard this podcast, and tell her hello. And anything else that you want to say that we did not say here before we wrap this thing up?
Just that no matter your background, no matter your struggle, just that's the hence of my name. We'll grow anywhere, no matter what, on any surface. So just don't give up, even if you're starting or even if you've been at it for years. We'll get it done.
That is strong right there. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being so kind with your time and the amount that you shared here on the podcast. I really appreciate it. I think a lot of people will definitely get some inspiration from it. And please keep in touch.
I will. You too.
We got some Apple watching to do here.
Apple Watch. Yeah. And I'll take you down and then I'll make it my story.
Man, look at you talking shit already. We haven't even got off the podcast. Come on now.
You can edit that out.
No, I don't edit anything out. We just leave it. It just stays. Okay. I'm gonna come and I'm going to close all my rings and defeat you in the process. So there you go.
All right. Challenge accepted.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for doing the podcast, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a little thing called Patreon? Well, I'd love to have you join me. But Gary, what is Patreon? It's a website that is helping small creators like me raise funds to further expand their creative visions. For as low as $1 a month, you can help me further my dream of reaching as many people as possible and eventually taking the show on the road to meet all these fine people face to face and add a video element to this podcast. If you were to donate $4 a month, you'd be hearing this show a few days earlier with no commercials and getting access to my close friends group on Instagram. Donate $10 a month and you get all that plus your name right at the beginning of the show alongside other producers, but act fast. That tier is limited to 10 people. I've got a whole lot more to offer and you can get all the details over at patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking out the show and I'll talk to you again really soon. Hardworkalwayswins.com. It's more than just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I'd love to have you join the Hard Work Squad. We're constantly adding new items to the store, including our brand new Future-ish hats, which come in a variety of colors, including camo. I mean, who doesn't like camo? We also just put our famous Splash logo in gold to match our OG logo, and there's so much more here. You just got to check it out. Here's the best part. Use the code PODCAST at checkout to take 10% off of your very first order and join the Hard Work Squad today.